It's tired, you know. Let it rip, man.
I always used to do like when I was little, make fun of older people. They always have napkins or tissues in their pockets. Now I'm not napkins and tissues.
Yeah.
You don't want to be caught off guard.
Yeah. No, you don't. It's already there. It's already wrong. You already know about your sneezing and your tissues. Likutei Moharan, Terehei. And now we will explain how this entire process is alluded to, is included in that teaching of Rabbi Bar Chana. Rabbi Bar Chana is saying a rather peculiar sounding tale. It's like a tale. And it says like this. Rabbi Bar Chana. Rabbi Bar Chana said, Zimno Chado Hava Zinu Besfinta. Once we were sailing in the ship. V'sagoi Sfinte ben Shitza v'Shitza d'Chavo Tlata Yomim v'Slota Leilus. And the ship was traveling between the front, the dorsal fin of the fish, and the back fin of the fish. Because the fish has one in the front and one in the back. Some fish at least. It says between this and that, 3 days and 3 nights. Because the fish was huge, was tremendous. So it took the ship 3 days to reach from the front, the dorsal fin, all the way to the tail fin. Iu bezakifu ve'anan b'shipuli. In other words, even though the fish was swimming against the wind, and we were traveling with the wind, wasn't the sailfish, the sail ships. The fish was going this way, we were going the opposite way. It took 3 days from the front fin to the back fin. And if maybe you'll say that, maybe the ship wasn't going that quick, maybe it was just like plodding along. He says, when Abdimi came, he said the following, in the amount of time that it takes to boil a cattle with water, the ship was traveling 60 miles. Now it was flying. It was a speedboat. It was like, woo! So, flying as, going as quick as that, as long as it takes to boil 60, takes to boil a kettle of water.
Like airplane speed.
Yeah, It says, V'shad lepal shagiro, and a rider, cavalry, would shoot an arrow. If a rider would shoot an arrow, the ship would have outraced it, outraced the arrow. In other words, it was faster than an arrow, and how fast the ship was going. Ravashi said, the Isla Treshitzi. That particular fish is a fish called Gildana. That's the name of the fish that exists in the sea, that has two fins on top of it. So Alpanov, this is a rather fantastic story, right? And Rashbam says Shitza is fin. Ben Shitza and Shnitza, this is Napir Begavadag. These are fins at the back of the fish. One to the side of the head. V'chad mitzad hagav, one to the side of the tail. Is a bizakif, u'sha'oilech keneged haruach, it was swimming against the wind. And alvin b'shipuli. As, in other words, like according, with the direction of the wind. Because the water of the sea, do not come out, they're not even like a mile. But they're going after, you're sailing it, it's not like a river that the water carry you. The ship's traveling with the wind. It says, it's the amount of time that it takes to boil a kettle of water, of hot water. If there would have been any person shooting an arrow, and bow and arrow, on land, so we see that the ship was faster than the arrow. Atkan, the Ma'avama Barchana, and obviously you understand that you don't understand anything, what is going on here. Alright. So now the Rebbe explains what's the connection. Sfinto, we already saw in Torah Aleph, Lashon Chashivas. Sanu is Safun, which is the root of Sfinto. Safun means Choshev, very important. Da Pchinas Gvura Yira. The Gvura is very, very important. This is the Yira, and it is said, Yiras Hashem Yotzor. What is the treasure of Hashem? Yeah, that's the Yira. She'ika Chashivas, because it is with Yira that you actually get in to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And Achinami, without Avos Hashem, nothing happens. But so the Ahava is, the Chazal said, somebody that has Ahava doesn't have Yira, it's like he has an apartment without a door. The Yira is the door to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. She'ikar Hashivas, I think, unless of course I switched it, which is, I wouldn't be surprised, because that the Yira is the Ahava is the door. Whatever it is, I'm not exactly sure, and of course I would say it as if I'm totally sure. So it says, Yiras Hashem Yatzor, that's the main importance. Shitzo, this Lashon Tzar. Shitzo is Lashon of a calamity. Kmo shekosu, v'achalel sam karega, and I will finish them off this moment, is in the Midbar, Am Yisrael is doing the hanky-panky. Mishbaruch Hu tells Moshe Rabbeinu, let me be, and I'll finish it off this instant. Achala isam karega, I will totally consume them this moment. What is the Targum Yedisa? The Targum Unkelus. I said, V'targumoy ve'ashtse yeshoim. I will put the shitza, ashtse is conjugation of shitza. V'ashtse yethon means them. In other words, the shitza is talking about annihilation. Annihilation denotes problem, because that's what the problems do to people. The attrition of the problems, of dealing with problems, finishes people off. It says, Tlasa Yom HaVeleilusa, 3 days and night. This is the 3 days and night. This is something that alludes to the mitzvahs. There are 3 parts of mitzvahs. You have part of the mitzvahs which is called muskalos. This is a mitzvahs, sensible mitzvahs, because they you would understand it by yourself. You're supposed to be kind to people. It's a piseno. Or mekubolos. These are the things that you wouldn't arrive to those decisions on your own. But once you hear them, okay, I can understand that. The chukos, these are things which is chok. They don't have any explanations whatsoever. So you see that there are three, para duma. There's no way you can understand it. So you see the mitzvah divided into three. And it is said about this, tlos yomama v'tlisa, and chesiv b'hem in the mitzvahs v'agisa b'yomama layla. So you see, in the mitzvah of the Torah there is an essence of day and night. So therefore, 3 days and nights is a rebbe to mitzvahs. The totality of the mitzvahs, all the mitzvahs. Iyuz bezekifu v'anu b'shipoli. He is going one direction, we are going the other direction. He is, zekifu also means up. Standing tall. V'anu b'shipoli is standing down. The fish is swimming against the wind, we are swimming with the wind. This alludes to the b'china of kiyum mitzvah simcha. Why? It is said, Yismach Hashem b'masov, Yismach Yisrael b'oisov. Hashem will be happy with his handiwork, and Yisrael will be happy with his maker. Like Kadosh Baruch Hu looks at us and says, yay, look at them, these are my children. And we are looking up and saying, he's our father. That's very cool. So, Yismach Hashem b'masov, Kadosh Baruch Hu is happy with his deeds, and Israel is happy with their maker. If you remember, when you're doing the mitzvah b'simcha, Kadosh Baruch Hu, the mitzvahs of Kadosh Baruch Hu and Kadosh Baruch Hu is one thing. So the simcha of Kadosh Baruch Hu is in the mitzvahs themselves. It's like we said before, that Shabbos is fused with the Elokus. So if the ma'aser of Kadosh Baruch Hu is complete, is perfect, Kadosh Baruch Hu is happy. His happiness is in the mitzvahs. So through that Am Yisrael is happy with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, while doing the mitzvahs, what they do is they enter the Simra HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is happy with his deeds. Because as we said before, the Simra HaKadosh Baruch Hu is belubish, it's inside, it fills the mitzvahs. So HaKadosh Baruch Hu is happy vis-a-vis us, and we are happy vis-a-vis him. Kadosh Baruch Hu is happy b'zekifu up there, we are happy down here, and we are entering his simcha. The kemecham kumkuma demaya, the time that it takes to warm up, to boil a kettle of water, da moichel, that's the moichel, that's the intellects. And it is said, where it is said before, v'noizlin melavonon, the brain is the place that pours down the drops that cool the burning of the heart. That's the water of the intellect that cool down the urges and the taivas. So it says, when you say, so what is a kettle? A kettle is something that pours the water. Okay. The brain is something that pours tipei moach, the brain drops to cool the heart. So, kettle of water is euphemism for the brain. It pours the drops of brain. It is a vidnosim b'milavana, that, as we said before in Oz Gimel, that from the brain comes drops to the heart in order to chill the heart from its heat. That's why kettle of water is a euphemism for the brain. Masgei Shitin Pasi. The ship, moved 60 miles. Dagvuris, this is the Gvuris. We're talking about the Gvuris. It's the Shem Shishim Giborim. It says, if you remember, you probably say Kriyat Shema every night. Hine mitoso she Shloimoi. Here is the bed of Shloimoi. Shloimoi, we're talking about Melcha Sholom Shalom. It says, Shishim Giborim Savim la 60 Giborim around it. There are 60 Gvuros. So when we're talking about, you apologize.
Sorry.
He's sorry, it's okay. He didn't mean it. He was just like totally consumed with the excitement of the shir that he just... Yeah. He did that. Actually, so he said that Shishin Giburim, it went 60 miles. This is talking about the Gvuras is a Shishin Giburim. So you see that 60 alludes to the Gvuras, because the Gvuras is the raw material of Ramim, of thunders. V'ram Gvuras. And now we say like this: Kishadi Parsha Giro. Parsha, it alludes to Chesed. Could have said if a person would just shoot an arrow. Why not a Parsha? A writer. The word Parsha or Parasha which is, in this story talks about a writer. What is the verb of perish? To explain, right? To reveal.
Like a perush.
A perush, exactly right. So when somebody explains something to you, he's doing your chesed, right? Before it was, a closed book. So somebody gives a perish, he opens it up. That's the essence, that's the act of chesed. Chesed is opening up. So it says, Kishada Parsha Giro, Parsha da Chesed. Parsha denotes, alludes to the principle of chesed. That brings out, that publishes that which was hidden before. Things which are constricted. It opens it up. It explains it. And this is chesed. Chesed is galus. This is spelling out. And gvura is what? Gvura is the opposite. Gvura is constriction. It holds back. Now, gira, an arrow, he says, this is Pchinas Shevle Yemini. In other words, the Pchinas Chesed, which is revelation. This is, like shooting an arrow, like sending an arrow. It denotes a principle of expansion. That's why the arrow also alludes to the midah of Chesed. Kadmele ihi, it, when in the Maaseh itself, which is Rabashi or who said it, Ravdimi said, if a Parsha shoots an arrow, it goes before it. It came before it. So Mimele, in the context of the story, we're talking about that if you shoot an arrow, the ship was faster. But the actual lashon of the thing is that if a writer shoots an arrow, which we said this denotes the chesed, kadma le'ihi, it came before it. It came before it. So it says kadma le'ihi, da pchinas yira she kodim. The yira, in other words, before we said the ship talks about yira, right? Mm-hmm. Now we're talking about chesed has to be there, right? But nevertheless, kadma le'ihi, remember that the yira has to come first. And Chinami, Parsha is shooting an arrow, we're talking about chesed. You need to have chesed over here. But nevertheless, the year has to come first. Kadma le'ihi, it comes first. It comes before. Shayira kodemes, the year comes before the ahav, before the love. As it is said, Resh is chokhmah. What's the beginning of the chokhmah? Yiras Hashem. Year is the first thing. The main, the completion and perfection of the correction of the moyach and the wisdom, to clean the moyach, from outside wisdom is through love. Nevertheless, even though the main tool is love, Reishis, the beginning of the correction, the fixing of the chokhmah, is through Yiras Hashem. Once you do this, the love will come automatically. Bezat Hashem will continue tomorrow because this is very complex and we have to repeat it until we understand it. We get the process right, how the whole thing fits. How the whole process fits into the Maisa, and tomorrow we'll actually explain how the Baba Chana, the whole process of the Torah is included in that story, the tale of Rabba Chana. Now you may press the button.